You mentioned Zigic earlier.
I took a player there.
Yeah.
Called Nikola Zigic.
Yeah.
Great guy.
Yeah.
You see, one of the things that people talk, you mentioned that, quite interesting when you mentioned Zigic. People saying, that was great, you took him to Birmingham and he scored the goal in the cup final.
Yeah.
Arsenal.
He's a hero, in a way.
Yes, of course, of course. But believe it or not, it took me 5 years to get that guy. 5 years to get that guy to England. Because a lot of people didn't really like him. Some people were saying, he's a bit gangly. Some people saying he's not got the speed. But eventually Birmingham said, yeah, we like this guy. But I'd been working on him for 5 years to try and get him. But anyway, we took him to Birmingham. He loved Birmingham. He loved Alec McLeish, the manager. Loved the fans. And I think he's still there. As a Serbian. I think he's planted himself there.
Yeah.
May even have a Brummie accent by this time. But great guy. But one of the funniest stories is that the salary he got over a period of 4 or 5 years, and I think it might still be a record salary now. Apparently nearly crippled the club, and a few Birmingham supporters maybe not like me for that, but I'm doing a job for my player.
Yeah. Did you have to negotiate the salary again? I think he got released and then came back. Were you part of that?
They let him. They reduced it. And we had to go back and get another one from him. But but the interesting, funny story about that, I can tell you a story about Nikola Zigic. So he signed the contract, and it was, I think it may have been the day before deadline day, something like that. And I was leaving after we got the press conference done, and I'm standing next to him. I'm 5'6" and he's 6'8", as you can imagine, right? And I jump on a train to go down to do another deal in London for the next day.
Right.
So the night before that, I've got off at London, changed. I went to meet my mate because I was at another deal to do the next morning. We were in a pub, and there it was, all about Zigic signing for Birmingham in this bar. And then the picture comes up of the screen, myself and Zigic, and the guy behind the bar went, "Wow, look at the size of that agent. He looks like a wee kid next to that player." And then I looked up and he went, "Fuck, that's you!" And we had a good laugh about, "Wow, that's you up there." And that was what you think about Zigic. I think about his goal he scored in the cup final. I think about being a great guy as a Serbian. But when people talk about Zigic, it's a funny story about, he was giving me stick. He looks like a wee boy next to him. Then he looked at me and took a double take at me. "Wow, that's you, mate." No, that was a bar,
Is that through your relationship with Alex McLeish? You mentioned the Scottish connection. Did you form that previously and that kind of come to fruition? Yeah.
Plus, I knew the people at Birmingham at the higher level. If you remember a guy called Peter Panu.
Yeah, I do remember him.
You remember him? I could see the big smile on your face. So I knew him for doing different deals at Birmingham. Alec, of course, because he's Scottish, but everywhere we've got connections.
Yeah. You mentioned obviously the 5-year process of trying to get Zigic into England, and it might be with other players as well. How do you keep that persistence to try and get them in that move?
Great word, persistence. Never give in. Because doors were closing, and I really, really liked Zigic. And I was doing it with a friend of mine called Milan Talasan. And he said, "John, you're not going to get him to England." I said, "We will." He's suited to somebody in England.
Yeah.
And we just don't give in. Persistence is another key part of this job.
Would you be ringing football clubs then, John? Would it be kind of a process of trying to offer and offload Zigic to England? Yeah.
"Hello, do you like Zigic?" "No, bye." "Hello, do you like Zigic?" "No, bye." "Hello, do you like Zigic?" "No, bye."
Is it like a Wolf of Wall Street scenario where you're trying to sell over the phone?
It's not quite this.
I mean, just
sell me that pen. It's not quite sell me that pen.
I'm just intrigued on the whole process of how you convince someone to take interest.
And that's another great question. And that's where a skill set comes in. If you really believe in your player and you believe he fits in a certain category, you should be comfortable just picking up the phone and saying, "Right, okay, for instance, with Alec and Zigic, I think this guy might fit into your team, possibly." And then, of course, Alec goes and looks at him, watches him a couple of times, comes back and says yes or no. And that's how it operates.
On that then, so what do you think the hardest process is? For example, the media get involved. There's a transfer deal's gone on for a long period of time. It's coming towards that deadline day. Does that become challenging in its way? I can imagine your phone's going mad on the last day on deadline day.
It is, and you can always get to so many different places. But luckily, we've got a team.
Yeah.
And for me, the hardest thing when you're going through that process near the end is the unknown. It's fear of the unknown. If you've been sitting desperate to go to Birmingham because that's your club, and you're sitting waiting down at the building, waiting to, in a hotel like this, and nothing's happening, and the deal's not going through.
Yeah.
And that actually happened with Zigic for me. The deal fell through in the last minute. I had a taxi home, and then they changed their mind. We had to come a taxi but to the airport, and they changed their mind. We had to come back. But the point I'm making is that the unknown about where you're going is for not just for us as an agent, for the player.
Yeah.
Because he's desperate to go to that club, and then it's not happening. That fear that's not happening, and that worry is really, really difficult to manage during the period, especially if it even doesn't happen.
Yeah. There's that famous, is it Peter Odemwingie? The famous one there. That's kind of epitomises your point. How do you, what do you do to calm the player down? Do you have coaches or kind of mental coaches around you to kind of help with that anxiety and pressure there?
That's a very good question, because new agents will find that when they've got a player who's maybe going to a club and then it's not happening and it might take longer than normal, you've got to manage that.
Yeah.
And new agents will find that very difficult because the players will be on saying, what's happened? How's the deal not done? Are you doing your job correctly? And you have to, it's just learn, you have to learn how to manage that. It's not easy. But that's part of the process of learning how to become an agent.